Hello, welcome to the Retro Rejects. New year, although I think maybe last episode was in the new year as well. Who knows? But yeah, this week we're going to be discussing whether Supergirl from 1984 is like so bad it's actually good. Hello, yeah. So Supergirl. So, I seem to remember you talking about Supergirl, but one of the reasons why I went through my mind to watch it was because I think you liked it when you were younger.
I did, but you have to bear in mind I liked the novelisation of it.
Oh, right.
I had the book of Supergirl, which is actually, they seem to do this a lot back in the 80s and the 90s, whereas like if, a film was brought out and they'd write actually like the novelisation of the film rather than a film made from a book the other way around. So I read it a few times and I was like, oh, this is great.
Well, I think it was like for people who didn't or couldn't get to movies or couldn't maybe you could, I don't know if you could afford it or not, but I don't know why they used to do that. It was probably just an extra revenue for them.
Of course it was, I suppose, yeah. They just like do the books of it and all the rest. But for me, because I didn't have like a VHS or anything like that back at the time, it was my way. If I wanted to watch a film again, I just read the book. Because I did it with like other Superman and Indiana Jones and all the rest.
Well, it was because I suppose there was some films when they come out that they mightn't actually come to, like this has been in the 80s now. They're in Ireland there wasn't like mega cinemas like the way that there are now, like the different groups and stuff like that. It was all independent movie cinemas basically, so maybe they couldn't afford to get the rights for certain things.
I'm really sure I saw Supergirl though here in Ireland.
I saw it in the cinema, No, but there were certain things that like...
It would have been, it wouldn't have just hit as far as Ireland really,
so I suppose it was the whole thing. Or if you couldn't wait for it to come out, you get the book, so you could kind of nearly... Because I think I had the book of Die Hard.
Did you?
Yeah, I think there was a Die Hard book.
I need to get that.
Or something like that. There was definitely one of those... I know, well, Jaws was based on a book originally anyway, wasn't it? So there were some things. But I remember getting like the Star Wars books. I had an annual of the Empire Strikes Back.
They used to have those little they were like read-along stories as well, where they'd have a picture in the top half of the page, and then the text was on the bottom half telling you what was going on. It was always it was kind of like, this is a little bit too advanced for like children to read, but it was too boring for adults to read as well, because they'd have a lot of technical terms thrown in, but equally if you're an adult you're not going to read that because it's like a picture book for kids.
But I don't know if they were for kids only, because I remember the Star Wars one where it was basically just screenshots from the movie with stuff
with the text on it,
and like, I'm sure nowadays, because there is stuff like that. I've gotten books like that for films. I think we have one on The Dark Knight there, where it's, I think there might have been more to it than just the story. It might have been like behind the scenes stuff.
A little bit of additional information.
And extra kind of things, because I think there might have been stuff about Boba Fett.
What, in The Dark Knight? Crossing into different universes there.
Well, but sorry, you were saying about Supergirl.
No, that was why I think I was a fan of it when I was younger as well, because it's like, oh, Superman, and there's a Supergirl, and it's like, oh, great, it's his cousin kind of a thing. It's brilliant, and I remember liking the film when I was a kid, but of course, being a child, your taste levels are very different to seeing it with adult eyes, and that was the thing. I was kind of really looking forward to it. I remember it being a bit cheesy, all right, because I remember the whole like Phantom Zone and Zoltar and all the rest. I remember thinking that was a bit cheesy as a kid, but it also, having said that as well, I was actually really upset by it because spoilers, everybody, in that particular episode or that scene or whatever, he doesn't actually make it out of the Phantom Zone. I remember being really upset and traumatized, and I was like, oh my god. And then I had a fear in my head of black holes from then on as well, because I thought it was a black hole.
But for people who are familiar, because there might be people, I don't think Supergirl is going to be a film that's going to be as widely watched. The basic premise for Supergirl the movie was, it was born from a whole thing of that the third Superman movie was after coming out and it didn't do as well as the other two, so there was this whole thing where they wanted to do a crossover with it. Christopher Reeve refused to do it because he was fed up with playing Superman at that time. So they decided just to do a Supergirl movie. Now, I'm not like the biggest Supergirl fan, even though I love DC Comics. I've never read like a standalone Supergirl comic until this week. But she's been in like crossover events and stuff. And as well, like you looked at the Justice League with me numerous times.
Yes.
And she was in that a fair bit, and she was in the Superman TV series as well. And
as well as Superdog.
Yes, But I think she's actually one of the better characters. I think she's probably underused in the DC universe. I think her story is more compelling than Superman's story, because she's basically Supergirl in the comics. There's different versions of her, but it's always that she's a teenager or coming into being a teenager when she leaves. It's like there is... In the film, it's, I can't even remember the name of the city, Arlo or something like that.
Yeah, but it's basically the few survivors.
Of Krypton, they broke off and they kind of survived in this small city. Yeah, there was, in some of the comic books, there is that city is like shrunk down and Brainiac has it, and he had Supergirl and all that, and she was sent to Earth to protect the baby Clark Kent, but I can't remember why, but she got it. But there's loads of different versions, but the whole thing with her is she isn't like, and then I think there is ones where she's born or she gets to Earth and stuff, but because she's not having grown up a human, she's, it's a very, very different thing. And what I quite liked about the movie as well was that there was that fantasy element to it and the magic element, which they don't often deal with in Superman.
No, yeah.
Well, and at the time, I think that's why I kind of liked it. It was like, oh, demons and shit.
Yeah, and witches and stuff.
But basically, the story of the film is that Supergirl, she's they're on their like planet that's after escaping, and the stuff goes wrong. They lose the power source. It goes to Earth.
Yeah, it's a tiny little floating orb basically that can fit in the palm of your hand.
You can quite obviously tell it's on a ring, so it can spin around in people's hands. But the guy Zoltar, he created the city. And because he feels like he was the one that lost it, because he gave it to Supergirl, who fucking created a mosquito that broke through the walls of the city.
The very thin membrane,
plastic,
which basically is plastic sheet, and it's like, geez, if that's all that's protecting your city, you're not all that clever as a species, are you?
But because she goes off in a little ship that he's after building to track it down. It's never really said, but it seems that she's got a bracelet on her that tracks the thing, because it flashes when she's nearby.
Yeah, that was the thing.
But they never say anything. Like,
no, they don't explicitly say that it tracks it, but it was a bracelet that Zoltar made for her with his little magic wand thing. And she's like, oh, it's pretty, but of course it starts glowing then when it comes nearer to the power source, because I think if you read into it a bit more, or think about it a bit more, I suppose, he created the whole city, and the city is powered from the power source, so it stands to logic that the bracelet would also be powered by the power source, so that's why it flashes. But you'd have to
think... got into it a bit more, really.
Well, no, it's just I suppose it isn't explained. It's just assumed that you kind of take it for that.
But we get into that because just give people a plot kind of synopsis for it, really, really quick. So basically, the power source is lost. Supergirl goes to Earth to try and find it. A witch has it. She has to fight the witch to get it back, and that's pretty much the movie.
The witch
Superman
obviously is trying to use it to take over the world as well. Yeah. And she's halfway through doing it.
And the witch is Faye Dunaway, was it?
Was that the mum? No, the mum was Mia Farrow. Sorry, Faye Dunaway. Yeah, you're right. But yes, and she was like this very this stereotypical sort of like haughty witch, glam, and sort of, kind of using everybody for her own sort of nefarious ends and all the rest. But for some reason she was living in like a disused ghost train in a car.
Yeah, it's all very weird. Like, I mean, the thing before we get into it as well, for people that don't, it's got like terrible reviews. It's like, I think we started off kind of going, oh, it's alright. So people that don't, it's not going to be like a Batman 89 fucking scenario or a Richard Donner Superman scenario. This film was panned at the time. I think it has like a 4% or something like that approval rating. It's not well liked.
It's not held in high regard.
Now I don't think it's that bad. I do think it's so bad it's good. With it, and even looking at it with it now, it did feel long.
It did actually.
Looking at it, I think it was like maybe 2 hours, and I think the night afterwards we were looking at Lord of the Rings,
and that felt shorter.
It felt shorter. With it, it's very, very campy.
Even the premise as well of the battle between Supergirl and the witch herself as well. What was her name?
Sabrina or something like that?
No, not Sabrina, I can't remember. But anyway, herself and the witch, they were basically... Selena, that was it. Close enough to Sabrina, I suppose. But basically, they saw this guy out doing a bit of gardening with his shirt off. And Supergirl kind of, she was...
And the guy was the dickhead from Die Hard.
I know, when you said that, I was like, what? Oh my God, that's outright. Well, obviously this is him a little bit younger. But the witch kind of goes, oh, he's lovely, I'll have him for myself and I'll do like a love potion that it'll make him fall in love with me. But unfortunately, he has the love potion, and the first person he sees is Supergirl, it's her alias. Yeah,
alias, which is a teenage girl who's in an all-girls school, which he gardens at.
Yeah.
So I don't know what age she's meant to be, but I think she's definitely meant to be under 16.
Yes, or at least under 18 and all this. But yeah, he falls totally in love with her, and it's just like, oh well, this is just accepted and it's absolutely fine.
And he's stalking after her.
Yeah. And like he's clearly a fully grown, he's like 30 plus kind of a thing as well.
He's tall. He's
not like, your typical kind of teen heartthrob. He is clearly quite an older man.
If anyone's child came home from school and went, the gardener keeps telling me that he loves me, and he's you'd be like, what the fuck?
That's it. I know. It's horrendous. But of course the witch then kind of gets all jealous. Lena, she's like, I'm going to kill Supergirl because of that
girl, and she can't piece together why Supergirl keeps showing up when she's trying to do things to kill
the
child.
Exactly. Linda, wasn't it, or something? Was her name, or Clark name.
There's like 1,000,001 plot holes with this, and I was looking at a video.
It's all over the place.
I can't, it's like Minty Comedian, I can't remember what the name of his YouTube channel is. He's constant, every week he does like 10 things you might know about such and such a film, and he's actually quite good. I'm sorry, I can't remember the name of the channel because I've been looking at him for years. But he has, like, nearly any fucking film you can think of, he'll have 10 facts up for. And when he was talking about this, he was saying that a lot of the plot holes that are in it was because Clark Kent wasn't in it because fucking Christopher Reeves dropped out. Whereas there was because you see stuff like when she turns into the schoolgirl and her alias, and she kind of goes into the she seems to know loads about Clark Kent, and she's like, how could you know anything? You've never met him. You've just
never been on Earth. Yeah, exactly. And like some of the charm of the film, I suppose, is from her being literally a total alien. She doesn't know her customs. She doesn't know why people talk the way they do, or she doesn't know how to conduct herself, really, I suppose. So everything is absolutely fascinating to her.
And it's the first interaction she has is with like truckers that try and rape her.
Yeah, which is, again, she's a young girl and they're like, it looks like it's time.
But they just stop in the middle of the street and they're like, oh, like, look up your dress. And then she's like, why are you trying to do this? And it's just the way we are.
Yeah, it's just the way. Like, that's what we do, isn't it? And it's so fucking creepy and horrifying. Yeah. Now, of course, because she's Supergirl, she absolutely fucking mangles the
But even after she mangles him, like, there's, I think, because it is one of those things where it's hard to forget because it's just like, what the fuck is actually going on? And like one of the and he turns to the other trucker and he goes, we better not tell anyone about this. And it's like,
that's exactly what he said. You know, yeah, exactly. Oh, we had a great rape the other day. I'll tell you all about it. It's like, what kind of friends and family did these people have? But the way
that they were portrayed, I think it shows a lot for whoever wrote it, what they thought of truckers as well.
Yeah, that's true.
You know, it's like, imagine if, because we were going to do planes, trains and automobiles there one day and we just decided, no, I think we did the Metallica thing instead. But, imagine if like that was in Trains, but they got in the truck and the two of them just got raped.
But this thing just seems to persist throughout the whole of like sort of American culture. Being up as far as It's Always Sunny when they were hitchhiking and they got in the lorry.
Lot lizards.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, so it just seems to be a thing. But this was particularly because it is more or less a kids' film. Yeah, and it's like, why do you need to show? Why does it need to be that kind of like sexually threatening? Why is that her first interaction? That's what I mean. It could be a threatening situation where somebody tries to rob her, but why does it have to be like, come here, pretty girl? Yeah. You know, it's just, that's unsettling to watch as a child, and even more so as an adult. Yeah, like, I'd imagine when I was young, I probably had no idea what was going on. Like, you know, I'd imagine most kids wouldn't have any idea what's going on, and then it's just like, oh, she bet up the bad guys. They're obviously bad, you know, but not knowing what they were planning to do to her. But yeah, then she'd like, when she, the schoolgirl. But that's, it's like, why did she decide even to enroll in school? She's coming to find the power supply. Yeah. And then she's like, I'll just waste half my day going to school and going to lessons and stuff like that. Yeah. It's so bizarre. I don't know. And she ends up happening to live with Lois Lane's sister. Yeah. Yeah. Which is... Yeah. Yeah. I told you what that was Lois Lane, but she's real kind of that 80s character that they used to, where it was like a throwback to the 50s kind of wise guy thing, where she was like, why? Yeah, she was really good. She was kind of with the short hair and the spunky kind of like, you know, hey, I'll put my fist up. She was in Grease, apparently, or Grease 2, yeah. So
it's that kind of, and like I mean, she's a very good actress in it, but it's then she gets Jimmy Olsen to come around, and it's like Jimmy Olsen from the Superman movies, and he doesn't really do anything.
He just shows up to be kind of like almost a love interest for Lois Lane's sister.
Yeah, but then that's even because it's like you're dating. You're a grown man that lives
and she is a schoolgirl
in the city. Yeah, and you're dating a schoolgirl, or you're harassing a schoolgirl.
Yeah, it is. The 80s.
But the main bad guy, actually, we should talk a bit about Supergirl for Helen Slater. I think it was her first thing that she ever did. Anyone that like grew up in the 80s will know her from kind of like she was in loads of movies in the 80s. But like she is probably the best thing about it. I think she made an excellent Supergirl. And if they had to do a franchise, like people go on about Gal Gadot being a brilliant Wonder Woman, I think she's a bit crap. Whether you just get a kind of, she's nearly like a simpering idiot, I think, where she's just like, whereas she came across as
she had the right balance, I think, of naivety about like her new situation and how things are on Earth, and the perfect balance then of like, I can mind myself. It wasn't even like, girl power. It's just like, well, of course I'm going to kick your arse, and of course it's down to me. I have to do the right thing, kind of thing. She was just a good. She was like Superman. Like, I am good because I have to do
she's good for the Christopher Reeve Superman in that universe. Whereas I don't. She wouldn't really fit in like the Batman. Maybe actually she would fit in with Batman 89 kind of universe.
Yeah,
definitely not the Zack Snyder. Version.
Zack Snyder.
Yeah.
Chris Nolan.
Zack Snyder.
What?
Sure, he did the last DCEU kind
of like
that.
Oh yeah, of course. Yeah, sorry, I'm still
which we looked at the Flash there the other night, and there was their version of Supergirl, and that was very good as well, which was based on. If anyone, the Flashpoint paradox, I'm not going to get into it because that's a whole. But like you saw, there was a brilliant cartoon of it came out, much better than the film. But like I still thought that the Flash film was
good. Yeah,
I don't understand why people fucking slated it. The special effects in it were a bit shit. You could tell that they were rushed, and maybe because I think there was a lot of problems with it, where they probably changed it 1,000,001 times, and they're probably we gotta fucking just get this film out, like just. But some of the special effects were brilliant.
I quite enjoyed the whole film.
I thought it was the best out of the DCU
for quite a while. Yeah.
It was really, really good. Ezra Miller, I thought was brilliant as the Flash. I know there was like
there's all controversies around him,
problems, and like you know it's. I don't know.
But his performance in the film was very good.
And it was brilliant. It was genuine. I think anyone out there who hasn't seen it don't really listen to what the critics have been saying. Although the critics have been saying it's brilliant, but then people kind of went to go, what do the critics know? And it's just a really, really good, fun movie with a heart to it as well.
Supergirl.
But back to Supergirl, I suppose. With it. What were we saying about Supergirl?
No, you're just saying about Slater, like, herself,
she's very, very good in it. Like people kind of criticise Selena Faye Dunaway as well, saying that she is over the top, and it is but it kind of fits over the top. And it's what people forget. It's a fucking children's movie as well.
Yeah, she's meant to be the villain, and she's meant to be all arch and sort of evil and stuff, which she was. So it was great.
Now, what I noticed is someone on one of the videos that we're looking at said that she basically got told she was going to get fired off if she didn't cut the fucking shit on set. Apparently, there was a lot of kind of like drama queen stuff going on with her.
Fair enough.
Which there was bits in when we were looking at the film at first, I was saying, because when they go to a shot of her on her own, it was like all soft focus and stuff.
Yeah, and it was like bizarrely like so.
Yeah, to the point where I'd imagine she had something in her contract, or she was like, "No, I want to be fucking shot like this."
Yeah, any close-ups or any like one takes of me or whatever, and it was severe soft focus. It was like somebody smeared Vaseline on it. And
like, I mean, the thing is, if it fitted some kind where it was a dream sequence or some kind of. That you kind of go, grand. But it was like, I mean, to go from one shot to another shot, or if someone else was in the shot with her, it wouldn't be in soft focus. Yeah, it'd be only if she was on the shot. Cut to her,
exactly. Yeah, it was very bizarre actually.
And Peter Cook was like her boyfriend, who was like a witch, Nigel, who was like teaching her how to black magic at the start of it.
A very nice little twist of fate as well. He ended up being Supergirl's maths teacher as well in the class that she joined, and it's just so bizarre.
Of course he would be a maths teacher.
Why not?
But that was played by Peter Cook, who people he used to do a comedy duo with Dudley Moore, and he was just a really, really, really good comedian. He died, I think it wasn't too long ago.
It wasn't all that long ago,
another big, there was fucking, what's his name? Lawrence of Arabia?
Peter O'Toole,
yeah. And he's quite obviously hammered and
the whole way through. Yeah, it's like that sort of drunk old granddad in a pub kind of a thing.
Like he's a well-known alcoholic, but like it was quite. He was fucking pissed. There was a couple of scenes with him where when the camera closed in on him, you could look. His eyes were
going in two different directions nearly. Yeah,
and even the way he was talking, and there was a bit at the start where he was just talking to Supergirl, and he started going zip zap zoop, and it was just like.
Out of the blue.
What? Yeah. And you kind of go, what the fuck? Is he on coke or, you know?
Well, it's just, I think, probably would have actually been more authentic if he just had like fucking, I don't know, a tumbler of whiskey and swirling it around while he was talking, because it gave that kind of vibe where he was just like the ramblings of a drunken man kind of thing, and being like, oh, very verbose, and I must tell you this now, and I must, you know, and all fucking, I don't know.
And like he gets sent to the Forbidden Zone when he decides that he should get, or the Phantom Zone,
He decides to exile himself because he's after basically without the power supply, the city is doomed to die within a couple of days. So he's like, "Oh, your suffering will be quick. Mine will be immense and forever."
Yeah, you think he'd be like, fuck it, you know, I'd stay here and die with it. But he's like, oh no, I'll go there, you know, and
punish myself.
Yeah, where I can live forever.
Well, in fairness, the Phantom Zone is a horrible place. It's all just like fucking hurricane winds, and
he still managed to find some kind of alcoholic drink there, though.
That's true, actually. Yeah, somehow or another. Yes, squirt. And trying to get Supergirl to drink it as well.
Yeah,
but yes, I suppose it was very convenient that when she got sent to the Phantom Zone by Selena during a battle, and again, that is just. That cracks me up because she gets put in like the peanut glass as such, and she gets, you know, sent off to
and how would Selena know anything about the Phantom Zone? Like Selena goes from being a nobody living in a fucking ghost house to all of a sudden she's like this mistress.
Powerful, she knows everything.
And ends up taking over the small town and has like an army.
Yeah. Well, I suppose they do show the power of reading, because every time she wants to do something else, she goes delving into a book and she finds the spell almost immediately. So I suppose in that way it's good for kids to go, hey guys, look, read your
if
books.
I want to be a totalitarian dictator,
just read your books.
You never see fun. Dr. Doom reading. So,
I suppose.
He knows all these different things, but you never see him reading.
Yeah,
it is almost as if it wouldn't be fun to watch, kind of read a comic. It
wouldn't be fun to read about somebody reading, I suppose. In fairness, that's a bit too meta. Isn't
Dr. Doom on the toilet with like fucking the Goetia kind of going.
Or looking up something on Google. Oh, that's how you do it. Oh, yeah, that's grand. Yeah,
on YouTube. Yeah. Siri, how do I mix black magic with technology?
The other, I suppose we should mention, is Selena's sidekick, the other witch as well. I was looking at her.
She was like some
she's
other.
So familiar. She's Joey Tribbiani's mother in Friends.
Oh yeah.
And as for ages, I was like, "Who that? She's so familiar, and all the rest." And then the minute I copped to it I was like, "That's all I could think of." It was like Joey Tribbiani's mother is hanging around with a witch in a fucking a ghost train.
She was the side where she was like making a smart comments on the side and so.
Yeah, but she was actually trying to do sort of the good thing as well. She'd be like, "No, Selena, don't go that far." Like, you know, she's trying to rein her in a little bit, and maybe it wouldn't be a good idea to do that. And naturally,
she does say a few times, where it's like she's just some kid, like. Just
why are you so mad about it? Like, you know, and again, she pointed out, she's like, it's just some fucking random gardener. Why are you so obsessed over this one guy? There's plenty of guys out there, you know. No, I must have him, and I must fight with this teenager over.
As well, like there's really no action in it. I think that's one of the worst things about like being a 2 hour long movie.
It's the action that is in it when the smoke or the shadow self, when she's like, shadow self.
Before that, it was the thing when your man, I can't even remember his name out of Die Hard, but when he gets drugged up and he's stumbling around, your woman Selena sends a fucking bulldozer or digger,
a JCB, with the bucket on it
after him, which picks him up. Yeah, and no one is really flinching an eye until it swallows him, and then they're like, oh god, and they're just like, oh my god, it's a runaway. And it's like, no, does this happen?
Yeah, a runaway JCB comes along and just actually chomps up something into their bucket. And he's struggling away. And of course, the JCB is knocking down half this small town. And people are like, oh no, what do we do? And everyone's just like, oh, let's just stand and watch it kind of a thing.
Yeah, and then Supergirl comes along and just takes the bucket off it.
Rips it apart, yeah. And that's when he falls in love with her because he opens his eyes and sees her then,
And then the only other real action is like that when Celine sends I leave with the Phantom Zone. It's like climbing the side of a mountain.
Yeah, I suppose,
with a bit of wind.
Yeah. Oh no, I'm going to get blown off. Oh no.
But with the demon, it's like because like the demon is just invisible. So it's
for the most part, and it's just like, oh, my shadow self, go and attack her, and it's just all this scream, kind of noise and all the rest. And then when he does catch Supergirl, he basically, it's just, I don't know how they actually did the effect. But that was terrible.
No, that wasn't that. But that was further into it at the very end. Yeah.
All right, yeah.
There was at that bit when he was attacking her in the school, she like ripped it up, fucking kind of like a light pole, and like it got hit by electricity. She used the electricity to kill it. And it just went back, and then she went back in dressed as Super. She didn't even fly in through her dorm window. She just walked in.
Yeah, hello.
And there was some like dorm kind of garret or something.
Dorm garret?
Yeah, that was like, oh, what are you dressed like that for?
Yeah, that's right. Yeah, kind of a house mother, I suppose, or something like that. And she's like, hey, why are you dressed like that, you slag?
Yeah.
It's like, what?
But the bit that you're on about at the end is when she gets back from the Phantom Zone and she's like, all right, Celine, I'm going to fuck you up.
Yeah.
And she's like, I'll summon the demon again. The demon picks her up and stretches her out. Like.
Yeah, literally catches her arms and legs and stretches her out like a fucking piece of, I don't know, rubber or something like that, which is ridiculous to look at. But as well, like, there's so many weird things within the film as well. Like when she captured everybody, like, Jimmy Olsen and, sort of Lois Lane's sister and all that, she just basically put him in hanging cages.
Oh, yeah. And she was trying to teach her man a lesson because he gave her the wand of Burundi.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah, which helped her summon the demons.
Yeah.
But Peter Cook, she basically just like, she was like, I'm putting a curse on you now, and it was like his clothes were like a bit dusty and his hair was dusty, and it was just like, what?
So bizarre. But this whole suspension in fucking iron cages and stuff like that, and it was just okay, it's very weird. I don't know, like, I mean, that would kind of like maybe ruin kids' psyche, I suppose, as well when they look at that, because I mean it's either terrifying or it's
But that was like a fantasy thing in the 80s.
But that's everyone was it? It seems, looking at it as an adult, it seems to be kind of like borderline kind of S&M kind of fucking
I don't think there was that thought. I think it was just because it was like that was the thing that was done, and it was like in lockup because it was. It's like, oh, how do you keep it? Because remember in Batman, like, it was always they're suspended from the fucking roof and they're about to, like, fall. It's about the whole thing about them being in the cages was that they'd fall on spikes. If they try to get away. So it's just like a trope, I think.
I know, really. But where did it stem from? Like, I mean, the only other place you ever see hanging cages. But the only other place you ever see hanging cages is like strippers and fucking, dancers and stuff in like nightclubs. That's the only other time.
I don't think that would have been around at that stage.
Yeah, I don't. Maybe that came from the films.
Yeah, and it probably did. Yeah. What are we going to do with all these strippers? We don't have. We don't have enough room on the floor for like sticks on in a cage. Like they don't mind. They're strippers. Like.
It's fine. It's fine. Yeah, but like I mean, as you said, the action in it is just the shadow self, the demon is just ridiculous because at the very end you do get to see his face or whatever, but it's like somebody just drew straight onto the film.
Special effects are pretty appalling, and apart from the flying, which is actually
and some of it now is
but for the time
I suppose
because like remember the whole selling point of the Superman was like you believe a man can fly because it was never really done before. It was always done just like a screen behind people, but this was like, oh my god, like he's
actually soaring through mountains and canyons.
So they did the same stuff for Supergirl in this. Now there's not really a lot of flying in it, but the bit that there is, it's like alright, like I mean it's not like by today's standards really,
that's true, but I suppose it is nice, and it's sort of it's not even needed in it as well. It's just to look cool because she just goes for a fly every now and again. She's like, I'll have a look over the clouds and see what's going on.
And kind of do a few somersaults and there's a lot of pissing about in it.
Yeah, there's not much happens at all. Like, there's an awful lot of sitting in the dorm rooms just chatting to her matey and stuff like that.
Or her just flying around looking at horses.
Yeah, oh yes.
Yeah.
Well, I suppose you see, it's probably aimed at like kind of younger girls, and that seems to be another thing.
Horses was a big thing in the 80s.
Like
I suppose there still are now.
Yeah, but there seems to be this fascination, like My Little Pony and all this. Like, throw a few horses in it. The girls will love that. Like,
and nature. Just well, like there's as a movie itself, it is terrible.
Yeah. And it's quite disjointed and all over the place. Like, it just bumbles from one scene to the next. And
like I don't like shitting on movies.
But that was the thing. As a child, I quite enjoyed it. Yeah. You know, because it was, herself was, you know, she was quite an empowering character as well, because she was just... It wasn't the fact that, like, oh, look, she's a girl and she's got, like, boobs and stuff like that. There wasn't that kind of sexualization of her like that. It was very much, here is this teenage girl being all wholesome and helping people out and just doing the right thing because that's what you're supposed to do, kind of a thing. You know?
Well, as well, they didn't go for the thing that a lot of movies get criticised for with those things, is that, like, there's always, she needs a man, or a man helps her out, or a man saves, where it's like, she doesn't get help from it. She's just very much on her own, doing her own thing.
Yeah. And even the whole thing, because, you know, sort of the gardener falls in love with her and all the rest, she kind of feels duty bound to protect him just because. Like, even at the end, he's just like, oh, don't leave me. And she's like, no, I'm off home, see you, bye.
Yeah, fuck you.
Yeah, she's like, yeah, you're safe now, shut up, go away, kind of a thing, you know. But it's just, it seemed to me like if it was, I don't know, a woman was in the same position, she would have done equally as much to try and save her as the man. You know, it wasn't the fact that, like, oh, I'm so in love with him and he's so handsome.
I think the characterization of Supergirl was good. I think it came from a good place where it was like they were trying to make a character that was maybe like the fucking stereotype. What's the word?
A role model?
A role model, yeah. They were saying about that with Gal Gadot's Wonder Woman as well. But you look at the movies and you kind of go, not really. Like, Gal Gadot went into the role, she did a lot of stuff off the movie, like meeting kids as Wonder Woman, you know, and kind of like sick kids and all that stuff, and she seemed to be really into it. And like, in fairness, I know that fucking song thing that she did was corny as shit, and and there's other stuff about her as well. But like, I think she probably had good intentions, but just she's a bit of a lunatic. Whereas with this, I think the characterization was it's Supergirl. That's it. It was like kind of like Reeves' Superman. Yeah, which is very pure, kind of like a bit of innocence.
That was very wholesome as such. Like, it was all the humans around her that weren't all particularly wholesome. She was very much just, as I said, like sort of a teenage girl trying to do right by everyone, trying to save her home planet, trying to be good to everyone on Earth, and feeling like it's her duty if she can't help to help, kind of a thing. You know?
Which is a good message to send out, I think.
That's it, although at the same point as well, you don't really want like 8-year-old girls going off going, oh, there's a runaway digger, I'm just going to try and rip the pocket off.
There's 2 truckers.
I'll go over and punch them out. It's like, no, don't, stay away from the scary rapey truckers.
But it's, I don't know, like, it's, you kind of, the more you talk about it, I think for other people it's probably very easy to kind of poke massive holes in it and stuff, but as well, I think if you grow up in the 80s,
a lot of the stuff you just accept as well. Yeah, do you know what I mean?
There's a lot of movies I go looking back at every now and again, and I kind of go, how did that make sense to me when I was younger? There's like massive plot holes in it.
It is, but I think with child logic, especially,
oh Lord, just banged her elbow there
in the corner of a desk.
Yeah, she ain't no Supergirl.
No, ain't no Supergirl at all. Fuck, that really hurt. But with child logic and stuff like that, I think you just accept it and you just go, yeah, why wouldn't you be able to do that? Like, say for example, when they are in the Phantom Zone and Selena's like, oh, I'm going to try and kill her, and she shoots like fireballs, and she's on Earth, but she manages to summon fireballs and shoot them into the Phantom Zone, and you just kind of go, yeah, why wouldn't you?
Yeah,
you know, it's
true. We'll mirror that as never. But like, there was a lot of movies in the 80s, and it wasn't just children's movies. Like, a lot of them now guaranteed were straight to video, so maybe not, but you do just go, it just jumps from one scene to another,
with no linking or no explanation. And it's like, you just go with it.
And a lot of movies in the 80s, there was very little expedition in it. You know, there might have someone at the start for going, oh, this is fucking going on, and fucking work the rest out for yourself.
Yeah.
You know, but you just kind of, because like people are very good at doing that anyway, linking up.
Yeah, you just see, you don't need to have everything like literally spelled out or anything. Give the audience a little bit of credit.
Whereas I think some movies now, they go over to definitely, I think one of the, like, I mean, we're going through a renaissance period of television over the last decade, but I think people confuse quantity with quality.
Yeah.
Where it's like, oh, well, look, we can fucking do like 20 episodes, but we'll just explain every last thing and do this and, where it's like, you don't need, like, there's some things you don't need to spend like fucking an hour on,
That's it. Like, I mean, Jesus, you mentioned we were watching Lord of the Rings there, like, and everyone was like, the big complaint about the book was like endless fucking walking, and it was just walk, and then they walk some more, and then they looked at a tree, and then they looked at the stream, and then there was more walking. And in the film, that's very much cut down. It's like they do a couple of swords and sort of.
If they had to do it, like, even like, this is the thing, people are shitting all over the Lord of the Rings TV series from last year, The Rings of Power, that's what it was called. Looked at it. That was alright. Wouldn't go looking at it again. I'll look at season 2 when it comes out.
Just to see.
I thought there were some of the special effects were very good in it. I don't have a problem with any of the fucking characterization in it. I've read the Silmarillion.
Yeah.
A lot of people that seem to be shitting all over it, I don't think they've actually read the Silmarillion.
Yeah.
They've had people taking points out of it maybe and stuff. But it's just like the Silmarillion is a fucking hard read. It's not fun, like, and that's the same with Lord of the Rings. It's a fucking difficult read.
Bit of a slog.
Yeah. Like, I mean, if you had absolutely nothing to do in the 60s and the 70s and you read this, and there wasn't much fantasy out there, you go, oh, wow, this is great. Well, I remember reading it before the films came out, I think, and it was just like, oh my fucking god. There was like some chapters where it was like 20 pages of just describing a forest. Yeah. Where you kind of go, I don't fucking care. Like, I really, really, really don't care. It's like I was just saying to you, got a big raving about it. I can't think of it. The book is called Cthulhu Armageddon, and I've been getting back into reading last one. I've been reading a few different books, and I read other 2 books that were very kind of wordy, as in WORDY, and then I read Cthulhu Armageddon, and it's just fucking insane. It's like
straight to the point, like.
But yeah, and it's just really, really good. It's fucking brilliant because it's like loads of stuff keep happening, and the story is really good. The world building is amazing, but he doesn't, like, he can describe a whole fucking city in a paragraph. It doesn't take fucking like 20 pages to describe one object. Yeah. In it, and it's not like this. I'm sure people would be going, oh well.
Oh, but it's nice to read something very verbose, but it's like, sort of the art of brevity. Sometimes it's like, he's in the city. There you go. Let's see what he's doing in the city.
A good writer should be able to describe something in as few words as possible. It should be like, I mean, there's a reason why Stephen King is probably one of the most prolific and popular writers of all time, I'd imagine. Yeah. With it, and like, I mean, you read these books and they're like a script. Yeah. Or they feel like a script, or feels like you can hear his voice with it. Now,
or even H.P. Lovecraft as well. I mean, like, he's, I always thought it was hilarious. Like, right, I'm coming to the monster, and it's like, the monster was indescribable. And it's like, just okay, fine, use your imagination and keep going.
I think there was a bit of laziness in it. Like, he seems like the kind of person that would have been
taking the shark
pretty lazy, like,
but at the end of the day, like, I mean, it then your vision of the monster would be very different from my vision of the monster, because if it's indescribable, you use your own imagination and you're going to come up with something that's that bit different.
Well, it's the thing that I really liked about Cthulhu Armageddon as well, was that they pull that every now and again as well, where it's like, oh, I could describe it to you, but you'd vomit all over yourself.
It's too horrifying.
And it's indescribable, where it is just that kind of like, poking fun at some of the stuff. But how did we get to this from?
Brevity.
Oh, brevity, yeah.
Which is not something we're actually prone to. But yeah, that was, again, it was
with 80s movies.
Sort of just like, this has happened, now this is happening, make the link yourself kind of a thing.
Well, it's like with Reacher as well. Like, I mean, I know people are mad about Reacher. I think your man that plays him is very good. He'd make a great Batman. Or even a Superman. Well, no, maybe not a Superman. Batman. But sure, he played Hawk, was it? Or in there was like the Teen Titans TV show.
Oh, did he?
He was Hawk or Dove. I can't remember which one of the, but he was definitely in that. But that Reacher TV series would have been a great movie, an hour and a half long movie.
It was just way too long as a series.
Yeah, with a load of action in it. More so, because you kind of look and you kind of go, oh, fuck. Like, I really enjoyed the first 2 episodes, and then it was just like, we just kept looking at it just to see the end. I didn't give a fuck who was doing the murders.
It's just to see the series.
It was just like, and I kind of thought, oh, well, surely the end scene is going to be like fucking batshit. And it was kind of, it was like a crappy shootout.
A bit of a damn squib, really, as well. It was just like, It's done and dusted now. And it's like, oh well, that's fair enough. So,
but I do think that they thought, well, look, we need to have 8 episodes for this.
Yeah, I think when people do kind of translate things for the screen, they do it like it's a formula and as well. Okay, our story is only this long, but we need to stretch it out to fucking 8 30-minute episodes or something like that. So let's drag shit out.
And that's what Mike Flanagan, who does some of the horror stuff. Like, I like the Midnight Mass. I thought that was good, but it could have probably been 2 episodes shorter. Like, I keep meaning to look at his Edgar Allan Poe adaptation, The Fall of the House of Usher. But I think it's like 10 episodes long, and I'm like, I guarantee a lot of those episodes are going to be fucking filler.
Yeah, a bit ploddy. Yeah. Don't necessarily need to keep going with them, I suppose. But that's, I suppose, like Supergirl suffered a bit from that as well.
That's what I say. It didn't need to be 2 hours long. Yeah. And there's a longer version. There's a director's cut apparently that's on the Blu-ray, which is like, and the director, he did there was a film Time and Time Again with Christopher Reeves, and he did Jaws 2. And I like the Jaws 2 is a really good sequel. Like it's not bad. Like they could have really fucked up the sequel. Yeah. So this guy, it's not as if he was a shit director, but it's now the people that were in charge of Superman that bought the rights at the time, they had their fingers fucking stuck in everything. And I think it was Warner Brothers got so annoyed with him as well, from what I was reading, that they just said to him, you can get someone else to handle their distribution and do stuff. They were at and that's why Superman 4 was I think it was Golden Globus at Superman 4. It wasn't a Warner Brothers thing, and that was like probably one of the worst movies ever made. But that like if it gets to the stage where Warner Brothers can't deal with it,
there's something going on. Something
with it. So for anyone who hasn't seen, like, have a look up The Canon Story. It's a great documentary about all these films with Golden and Globus. They're like 2 producers in the 80s, but they did a lot of kind of things like we'll probably end up covering a lot of these movies, but a lot of Chuck Norris movies. But they'd come in and say, oh look, this is the script, this is what's going to happen, and they just have insane shit. And they'd be like, shit. And they did He-Man. They thought He-Man was going to be the thing to save canon, and it ended up they spent so much money on it, they ruined it. Like, they had no idea. I think the person that directed it never fucking knew anything about He-Man, so they basically created a world that wasn't anything to do with fucking He-Man. Courtney Cox was in that.
Yeah.
So let's look at that actually again. Actually, we might do He-Man for do He-Man for an episode. Yeah. But that was meant to be like a series of films. It was one of the not one of the first, but one of the few movies to have fucking an end credit scene where it's like Skeletor's head coming up out of I shit on myself. But it's where do we get to? I don't know.
You've been very rambling. You're giving out about like Supergirl being way too long. I think you're being way too long.
But it's like, I think if Warner Brothers probably had a thing, the thing is, they did get a cut down from like the 3 hours director's cut,
which is horrendous. Like, how long is that, and how much other shit were they going? Was it just like endless episodes of the Ghost Train?
It's like just filling in kind of bits and pieces with all the smaller characters that are in it. Like, it's a lot of.
And in fairness, actually, they did do that as well. They had fucking your man, the gardener, go through the actual Ghost Train ride as well. And I was just like, all right, this is very fucking out of the field, but sure, let's go along with you there.
And the party that she had, it was very much like
it was a very early 80s, late 70s kind of a party.
But it was the kind of thing you could picture, like the Satanist from Rosemary's Baby going to.
That's exactly it. Yeah, it was just full of creeps and weirdos.
Yeah, but not like good creeps and weirdos, just like old creeps and weirdos. People that are probably like into David Copperfield and shit,
and you can say, like, straight away as well, when fucking Peter Cook, the ex-boyfriend, starts showing an interest in another woman, like, Selena just basically, she's just a bitch. Like, she's like, I'll just spin her upside down, never will see her knickers.
Now, I think she was in Superman 3. Or she was in something. I think she was one of the characters out of that. Because I seem to remember there was. It's been so long since I saw it. Richard Pryor was one of the main characters in it, but there was like, I think a woman and a man and another woman who kind of went off and did the supercomputer thing.
Yeah, there was
but I think there was like that blonde bimbo kind of a thing. I think she was. I think that she was a character out of it. But she was a lot more in the director's cut, apparently. But it's just. Yeah,
here's another weird little tidbit of the crossovers from those kind of. Remember I was saying about the novelisation of the film and all the rest. One of the An early record I ended up buying on vinyl was Superman 3, the soundtrack.
Oh, right.
And it was an awful soundtrack, but I bought it because I was like, oh, it's Superman. And it was like, you never see stuff like that around our local town at the time. I was like, oh my God, can I please have that? And my father was just like, what? All right, if you have to. Brought it home, and then I was like, oh. But then I was after spending like £7 whole on it at the time, so I was like, I have to play it quite a lot now just to listen to it.
And not even fucking Richard fucking, I was going to say Burton.
Richard Pryor?
Yes.
Yes, exactly.
Stand up.
Yes, I know. But there was all these bizarre little things. It's kind of like, why would you do a soundtrack of like Superman 3? How bizarre, you know? But anyway.
But the soundtrack actually, Supergirl was quite good.
I kind of got a little bit sick of it a bit because they had, every time she was doing something like looking at a bunny or something like that, they had this like wholesome orchestral swell. Yeah. And I was just like, oh, fuck, and we get it. She's pure and innocent and she's a good girl. Like, my God, you don't have to have this like flutes and fucking harps and stuff the whole time.
But there was a thing, I mentioned it at the start, a comic. Laura didn't finish reading it, but I'm going to ruin it for her anyway. It's James Gunn's new DC universe thing. They're doing a Supergirl movie, and it's based on a comic book by Tom King. Anyone isn't familiar, he did like 100 episode issue run on Batman there a while ago. He's Mr. Miracle comic book is like fucking highly regarded. But he did it's the comic book is called Supergirl World of Tomorrow, and that's going to be the next film. And it's I loved it. I thought it was a brilliant depiction of Supergirl in the universe. You didn't finish reading it. I'm not going to ruin it because I think you should finish reading it.
You can ruin it. I'll read it anyway.
The whole thing with it is, it starts off with Supergirl that turns 21, so she wants to go on the piss, so she has to go to a planet with a red sun, so her superpowers are gone, so she can actually get drunk.
Pissed, yeah.
So it starts off with her being hungover, coming across this girl who's trying to avenge her father's death, who got killed by this asshole, really. And it's following them going across the galaxy trying to find your man, and it's basically a meditation on revenge, because they keep coming across these different planets when they're trying to make their way across to find your man, and it's like all these pirates and things, and it deals with people being murdered, and there's all these kind of like shorter stories pieced together with it, showing kind of Supergirl's universe in the Tom King's kind of version of it. And it's Supergirl is just, he writes a really compelling character with her. Now, the whole thing is where it finishes is they do end up catching up with your man. I won't ruin, because there's a lot of good bits in between. Okay. But when they do catch up with your man, it's like Supergirl is like, you can kill him if you want, but like, I mean, my dog, she says that she's going to go and look for your man because her dog Crypto was poisoned. It wasn't, she just made that up to kind of go with the girl to try and teach her a lesson about maybe kind of like revenge is not a good thing, maybe you shouldn't be doing this. But the more they go across, the more they see how much of a piece of shit your man is. Your man has just been murdering people across the galaxy and doing fucking horrendous things. When they catch up with him, he has absolutely no remorse. Supergirl doesn't want your woman to kill her, and they end up basically sending him to the Phantom Zone.
Ah, cool. So, Phantom Zone is so handy.
So they finish it up where it's like the Supergirl still hasn't aged, and it's like about 100 years later, and the girl is an old woman, and she's like, well, this is my gift to you now at the time. It's like 100 years here, it's like 300 years in the Phantom Zone. So apparently your man got rehabilitated in the Phantom Zone, and he comes through the thing, and he's like an old man on the ground. He's like, I'm sorry, I've just thought about saying sorry to you for 100 years, blah 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 blah. Your woman kills him.
Brilliant.
Yeah, and Supergirl is kind of fine with it. Yeah. So it's really multifaceted. There's a lot of stuff that happens between those 2 points as well that it's like well worth kind of going for. But I thought the ending was just fantastic to it. And if they do it as well, they are doing it as well. If they stick to the comic book, which they don't have to, like there's plenty of other things they can do, it's going to be amazing as well, because it's all the different planets and stuff. I think it'd be very much like the Guardians of the Galaxy, but a little bit more
darker.
well, not necessarily darker, but a little bit more fantasy driven. Okay. Because there's fucking unicorns and there's a lot of mental fucking shit in it. There's like dinosaurs and there's a lot of Superman stuff in it. And as well, the whole thing with Supergirl, everywhere they go, it's like a daily thing where someone goes up and says, your fucking cousin kind of like got me kind of like exiled from my planet. I'm going to kill you. And she's like, I'm actually stronger than my cousin, and fucks him up. You know? But like, she has no qualms about killing people. You know, where Superman knows that she will fucking behead people. And
as you should do.
I think one of the first, she gets shot with arrows at the start of it, and she's just like, you fucking think the arrows are going to you know, take me down, kind of the cheek of you.
Let me show you what pain is really like.
But that's right. I think the future of Supergirl is going. We must go look at the TV show.
Series,
it's meant to be very, very good. As well, because Kevin Smith, I think, was a showrunner on it, or he had some
involvement anyway
in it. And like, obviously, for people who follow the show, Kevin Smith fans here, so but it's meant to be very, very good. And your woman, I think, in it is meant to be very good as Supergirl as well. Like,
so we probably should have watched that before we started rambling on about Supergirl.
But I suppose like, for people who haven't seen it and you've actually listened to the podcast trip, well, I think it's worth checking out if you have absolutely nothing else.
And if you have a few beers to do or something.
It's probably better than a lot of the Marvel shit though lately.
Yeah, at least that is one thing I will say. To it, yeah,
well, as well, even there's more character to it.
I was just going to say, you get to know the characters a bit better as well. Yeah. You know, you get to know the villains, you get to know Supergirl, you get to know all the friends and stuff. So and like, I mean, kind of care about them.
Well, for as bad as it is, the story is unique. Yeah. It really does. Like, I mean, they could have easily went, all right, let's just copy fucking Superman and like, she just falls, you know, and kind of like do the whole thing. They don't. Like, it is a fairly original story. It's mad and it's batshit crazy at times, but it is original. Like, I mean, most of the Marvel stuff is just copy and paste. It's like, there's loads and especially with the sequels when they do like fucking part 2 to any Marvel movie, I think you can just kind of go, this is going to be awful. Like Thor, the new Iron Man 2, that's what I could never understand with Iron Man 2. Iron Man 1 was such a success. It's like, all you have to do is just do a little bit more.
Yeah.
You can
follow
do more
same
now.
Blueprint,
And it's just like, fuck it. No, of course you couldn't do it. You just had to bring in these fucking shitty side villains that no one cares about. Like, just fucking bring in a big villain. Like,
do the usual,
so I do think it's more. It is better than most of the Marvel stuff.
Which is saying a lot. But like, I mean, there's a few memorable, like, I mean, as I said, the Phantom Zone always took out in my head as a small kid as well.
You never got to see it in Superman 2 as well, so it was kind of cool to see it in this, and it was just kind of like, it is kind of like, I can
it
see
is horrible. I can see why you get banished there. It's fucking shit.
But as well, I think in Superman 2, you kind of thought that, I thought that the Phantom Zone was in that they were stuck in it, whereas like, no, that's like just bringing them to the fan.
Which is, and that's such a weird and memorable way of doing it as well, because I mean, nowhere else do you see people like flipping around the universe in like a fucking pane of glass.
Well, I think the thing where Zack Snyder went wrong with Superman, it's like, I quite like Henry Cavill as Superman, but I think it was actually just too normal.
Yeah.
You know, like when you do look at the first and the second Superman in particular, there's a lot of weird shit. There's a lot of, like, Superman has must be over 100 years now of history. There's a lot of fucking weird shit happens in Superman, like Mr. Picks and, you know, and there's a lot of weird shit and
not necessarily based in reality, this reality, I suppose.
And Batman as well. Like, why they haven't really hammered into the weird Batman stuff, which I have a funny feeling they're going to do when James Gunn is involved, because he's big into a lot of the stuff that he's picking up is the Grant Morrison stuff, which I'm a massive fan. But Grant Morrison was like a real fucking comics fan, and when he was doing his run on Batman, he was bringing a lot of stuff from like the 40s and the 30s into it that were like one-off weird characters that were, I think I have it's a book called The Black Library. I have it there where it's him showing some of the things, and you look at it and you kind of go, what the fuck were they thinking? You know, they were really, really dark, but just like bizarre fucking characters that were never in, like, you know, Batman kind of comics afterwards. So like Grant Morrison, you can't go wrong. which I think a lot, seems to be a bit of people turn on kind of saying, his stuff is just weird. Where it's like, it's meant to be. Like, it's a comic book world. It should be. It shouldn't be like, how realistic can we make this?
Yes, he gets up and makes his breakfast and washes these plates and then sits down and read a newspaper. I know that's boring.
Yeah, whereas that's where I think Zack Snyder went wrong.
Of his eyeballs.
Yeah, with Superman, where it was nearly too grounded for Superman, where it was like, and especially with him killing, kind of like, well, alright, I didn't have a problem with the killing Zod at the end of it, but you do kind of go, he's a bit too gritty, kind of like dark. It should be just mental.
Yeah.
And the stuff, it's about a flying god.
Yeah. Which I suppose is where Supergirl got it right.
Yeah. So anyway, like I keep saying, go check out Supergirl.
Don't expect too much on it, but it's a decent.
Yeah. If you're listening to this on the podcast, head over to our YouTube channel. Subscribe over there.
Yeah.
The podcasts go up over there with I was going to say visualizations, but no, it's not. But we will have stuff coming up on the YouTube channel now, kind of like in the new year. We'll have a lot more content.
I don't call it
over there, yeah.
I hate that.
So, look, anyone's after listening, thank you very much. If you didn't listen, so until next week, arrivederci, Mario.